Hello everyone, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my personal finance channel, Your Friendly Budgetarian. Hi, if you're new here in my channel, I have been creating videos about personal finance as well as documenting my path towards financial freedom and starting it off by paying 6 figures worth of student loans. So if you guys are interested, please click the subscribe button down below. For today's video, I will be talking about something that I have been thinking lately and a mini-series project that I would want to pursue for this year and that I am really passionate about. This mini-series was inspired by Ms. Thea Sai Bautista. She's a Filipino content creator that talks about personal finance in the Philippines, and I wanted to do a version of that here in the US as a Filipina content creator. With that said, I am starting this mini-series of hashtag road to 100K, which translates to investing or saving up my first $100,000. With my first mini-series project, I will be focusing on budgeting 101. I personally didn't really budget until August of 2020. Keep in mind that I kind of just started my personal finance back in December of 2019, but really that time period was when it really hit me to keep track of everything, even up until the penny. So besides the fact that none of us was able to do anything during the pandemic, I started to think about what I could do in learning or developing new skills, and that's when I actually turned to personal finance. So what was my first step when I started budgeting? So first of all, you have to know your expenses. So what are the different types of expenses we have? First is we have the primary or fixed expenses, and these are basically your monthly bills, any recurring fees. So basically payments that don't necessarily change each month. So examples of those would be like mortgage, rental fee, internet, phone plan, sewage, trash fee, and everything. So there's a lot. And then I call them primary because of the fact that these are your basically basic human needs that you do in order to survive without a doubt. So if you don't have any of these, or if you're not able to pay for these expenses, then it would be obviously hard to survive. So second thing is the variable monthly expenses. Variable because it changes every month. So examples of these would be like water, groceries, gas, and everything. Technically, I would say that these are also one of the basic human needs, so you can put them under the category of the primary expenses, but it's still variable because it changes from time to time. But definitely you still need to budget for it for the most part. And then last but not the least are the miscellaneous expenses. So these are basically stuff that you might just have to pay like once a year or twice a year, or even like once every 2 years. So example of that would be like, let's say for the car insurance, you pay like a premium where you pay for every 6 months, or like license renewals. If you are a professional, typically you pay for those licenses either once a year or once every 2 years. And then any subscription fees, like maybe your credit card membership fees that you have to pay once a year. So these miscellaneous fees, you don't necessarily have to have them unless, and also I call these miscellaneous because these are the type of expenses that you can just actually cut if ever like you need to, cut down on your budget, and then you can live necessarily without these sort of fees. So those are, I would say, at least your expenses. If there's anything that I haven't mentioned, let me know. But for the most part, these are the ones that you want to make sure that you put into your budget. So make sure that you figure these things out, and then you can have at least like an average of the expenses that you need to save up for or pay up for every month. So now that you have listed your expenses, now you would probably want to go on about your tracking your spendings. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when I was talking about expenses, I wasn't even talking about like your personal expenses, such as, you know, buying for your clothes, paying for maybe like your monthly spa regimen or whatever. Most important of all, travel, right? So now this is when it comes into play. So now you would want to track your spendings. So if possible, I would say to track it up to the penny. So it's very important that you don't lose sight of even the minor stuff. Because if you cannot handle the small stuff, how can you be even trusted with the big stuff, right? So if you just started working, it is even more significant that you start budgeting at a young age. It is definitely hard to stay away from a habit, just like how the saying goes, you can teach old dogs new tricks, right? Or something like that. And of course, it is never too late to learn a new skill, but it is important to hone them while you are at a young age. You can use a pen or paper, or you can like use Excel sheets, just how I finally learned how to use them. And then, yeah, whichever form that you're comfortable with regards to tracking your spendings, use it. And then also do the tracking, I would say, for about 2 to 3 months, or however long where you're comfortable enough to know what your standing is with regards to spending and tracking your money. After that 2 to 3 months, obviously make sure you document them, you write that down. Probably it's also important that you reflect upon those upon your expenses, specifically the personal ones, because then that's when you would feel like, is this worth it? Or like, does this really give me joy when I pay for these kinds of services? Or or especially like obviously for your mental sanity too, like, is it worth the price to pay with regards to my personal sanity and all of that? So make sure you have those check boxes in your mind, and if it does, then now is the time to like, how am I going to tackle to it? How am I going to include that in my budget, as well as while I'm paying off for my primary needs? Last but not the least, before I end my first mini-series project, the next step that you would want to do is to know your average monthly income. So again, this goes hand in hand with spending your tracking. You want to make sure how much money is coming into your bank, so you would know how much you're going to subtract it from with regards to your expenses. So when you do this, you want to make sure, are you going to be tracking your gross income versus your net income? And then obviously when you do gross income, you want to make sure that you also include the taxes being deducted from it, and then all the other stuff that's going to be deducted from it, such as, like, let's say you're also saving up for your health savings account, like any deductions from your 401k and all that stuff. And then if you have any like side hustles, obviously you would want to include that, how much you're actually getting paid for like your side hustles. And then if you have any like cashbacks from your credit cards, if you are using the credit card hacking, so you want to make sure that you include everything in it, have that know like what your average monthly income is, and then from there, then you start subtracting your expenses. You want to make sure that you subtract first your primary expenses, because again, these are your expenses that you would not be able to survive if you don't have those. And then second would be your variable expenses, and then I would say, at least last but not the least, would be your personal expenses. Again, you would want to reflect on whether or not you would want to prioritize your needs versus your wants. So, I mean, again, it really depends because you also have to think about yourself and what I would always say about your mental sanity. I know recently with people who are working, especially in the health field, I can relate because I'm a pharmacist. You know, people are burning out and stuff. And then sometimes like, oh, they would think like with me, for example, like I think about, am I, gonna cut my budget for my wants? Even though like I'm like mentally burnt out and stuff, just, for like my personal happiness, or am I just gonna cut some budget with regards to my needs so that, I can spend some for my, again, personal happiness. So it just really depends. And if anything, again, if you think like you're already cutting out too much on your primary needs, then maybe you would think about trying to do more overtime shifts and all that stuff. In general, I would say tracking your spendings is just as much as important as knowing your average monthly income. So then you would know like how to balance both of those. So with that said, I hope that you guys learned from this, and let me know if you are interested with me doing more of this mini series project. Road to 100K is something that I've been thinking about even from last year, because I just wanted to do some, I want to accomplish projects like this in my channel, and also I want to just basically document everything, and I want to, I want to create like videos where I would always look back to for like reference as well, to help me out if ever like I forgot something and all that stuff. So we're not only going to be talking about budgeting, but we're also going to talk about different stuff. But budgeting, I think, is always like a good start to, knowing about personal finance, because again, from my experience, that's where it all started. And then after that, once I got in the habit of budgeting, I was able to move forward to like investing, paying off my loans, and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really happy. Hopefully pursuing this. I hope that I would be consistent in uploading videos such as these. And also, we're only done with the first part, so there will be a part 2 of this video. So yeah, so if you guys like my video and are interested to know more about how I do my finance, please click the thumbs up button, and then subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so that you guys will be notified as soon as I upload a new one. And with that said, I hope that you guys have a good day, and I will see you guys in the next one.